Hi everybody, I'm your host Jody Topist of we2me. we2me is a unique design and mentoring show that specifically deals with men and women in transition. There is nothing more powerful than the healing power of color, design, and laughter. And what's even more interesting and more fascinating is I have a guest on that deals with women, especially in transition, and she is the author of a book called What's Mom Still Got to Do with It and How It Impacts Your Career. And with great honor and excitement, I want to introduce my friend, I can call you my friend now,
Absolutely.
and renowned author and very talented, smart woman, Ilana Levitt. Welcome to my show.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
I am so happy you're here, and I think we have a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of overlap in what we both do because it's all for us about transition and what people go through when they're in a transition. And we were talking earlier, and I loved your metaphor. You were talking about the iceberg. You were talking about we're 9% up here and the rest is below. Why don't you kind of explain? I don't want to do it for you. You tell me, you do it better. Tell me what that means so people can understand the metaphor, and then we'll go into how our careers and our moms impact our decisions in our careers.
Sure. I was thinking about the iceberg recently, in that 1/9 of it is above the surface and the rest is below the surface, and it can be very wide.
Yes, it can.
And when I think about women and people in their career, we see about 1/9 of what people have to offer, right? We see people's strengths, we see their interests, we see their skills, we may see aspects of the personality. But then there's so much going on beneath the surface.
Oh,
and in
yeah.
all of my years of work with people, I tend to uncover the stuff that's underneath because I feel like that's where we get blocked. So the book actually is looking at some of that unconscious stuff that we may take from old relationships and how it impacts women's lives.
And especially our moms.
Yes.
Our moms, and I mean, I read your book, and our moms are well, because we're the same gender you wrote, there's a different type of connection.
Absolutely.
And what I love so much about your book, and of course I related to certain characters, is I love this. I had to highlight this. You, in your book, labeled different types of daughters and different characteristics they had and why they had problems or not problems in their career. You have the Ivy daughter, the Maverick daughter, the Butterfly daughter, the Copycat daughter, which you said you yourself are partly that.
Yes.
Because your mom was a therapist
Yes.
and fabulous person to admire. You have Bootstrap Brenda, which you've pegged me right away. Yeah. And so I loved when I was going through the book and reading it that even though you may not be all of those people, but you may be, it's almost like a horoscope. I'm a Gemini, and I'm, I'm mostly this, but good God, where did they get that from? I'm not that, I'm not a serial killer. I don't know why they said that. But that was what was so cool, is that I could read and pick and choose, and I was primarily, you met me 5 minutes, and you're like, Jody, you're Bootstrap Brenda. So I thought it might be interesting to talk about a little bit about, since you're more like Copycat, because you had this incredible mom to admire, and maybe we'll talk about those two types of women, because we probably don't have enough time in the show to talk about all of them, but because they're both familiar to us.
Sure.
So your story is really fascinating. Why don't you tell a little bit about your great mom and the great person you turned out to be?
Oh, Jody.
Oh, come on, it's true.
I thought a lot about being a career counselor and how does a career counselor become a career counselor, right? But when I do speaking at audiences, I ask, how many people when they were young wanted to be exactly like their mothers.
Right.
And very few people raised their hands. And then I say, how many people didn't want to be anything like their mothers? And more people raised their hands.
Boy.
And I say, how many people feel like your fathers, really stimulated your career?
Right.
And then how many people do you find your mother's words coming out of your mouth but you really have no idea where that came from.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So there's such a deep connection, but none of us really grow up saying I'm going to be exactly like my mom. So my mom was a therapist, and I knew I liked what she did, but I didn't want to do exactly what she did. So instead of going to social work school, I studied counseling psychology and organizational psychology. I made sort of different decisions along the way.
But related.
but
Slightly
trying
related.
to do my own thing.
Separate.
And then after grad school, I wanted to start a private counseling practice, and the real estate was very expensive in Manhattan. So my mom had a beautiful office on 33rd Street, and I said, why don't I use your office one day a week that you're not there? And she said, sure. And I will never, ever, ever forget the day I was waiting for my first client in her office, literally in her chair.
Oh my gosh.
Thinking, oh my God, I did all these things to be completely different, and I'm sitting in the woman's
the
chair.
metaphor, the reality of it all
crazy.
is striking,
So
right?
She and I started talking about it, and then we started doing mother-daughter relationship workshops for 12 years around the city. Thousands of women would come to work out their mother-daughter stuff.
Yeah.
So it was amazing work, but all along I did my own thing in career development, and one day I realized that if we really dig deep enough, and all the problems I was seeing in my practice with women getting stuck and not having mentors and creating their own glass ceiling and insecurities, that if I dig deep, there's connections to mom. And I came up with the 5-daughter model as a framework to really offer to women to say, gee, how does the mother-daughter relationship? So, sadly, my mom died 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really able to touch this stuff
for a while.
But now, the book is really a combination of her work and my work, but I made it my own.
And she'd be really proud of you. I mean, because you have a lot of good stuff to say about that category that you fall into.
Yes.
And
so I am a little bit of a
lovely.
copycat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I
in a good way.
her.
It's an emulation.
It's an emulation, but I'm my own person. None of us want to be exactly copycat. It's a little bit of a copycat.
Oh, yeah, that would just be a little bit psycho and weird. That would be a little bit like I killed your rabbit,
Right, that's not where we want to go.
No, we don't want that. No, we don't want the fatal attraction thing going on. No. But take the best and make it something, grow
Leave
it.
The rest.
Yeah.
And then be your own person.
And that's wonderful that you can do that. And I think it's fascinating. And in what I do, I've noticed working with women and men in transition, especially women, going from we to me, like for instance, married to single, going literally from we to me, the only thing I noticed that you have left, because the only thing your spouse isn't involved in is your career. So even if it wasn't your fault or mostly your fault that you failed at this big marriage, it's still a feeling of immense failure.
Sure.
All you have left is your career. So how important is to feel that sense of importance, of accomplishment with your career? And now, spinning it over to you, how does that connect to the decisions we make? Do we become an entrepreneur? Are we too afraid to do that?
Right.
My mom never did that. She stayed safe in the same job she didn't even really like. And I went out and started we2me divorce decor.
Awesome.
Thank you, but it's it's a little crazy to start like that. Yeah. And so what I'm fascinated by is that you really, like you said before, you dig underneath that and figure out why did I make that interesting enough? Why did I do what I do? Why did I go the opposite and not play it safe? Invest all my money into something that never existed? Why did you do what you do? I find that fascinating, and I so enjoyed, reading your book and learning so much. There were so many things that related to me directly, and there's so many things I probably want to talk to you about after the show. I think we need to go to Teresa's, eat massive amounts of carbs, and discuss this more because you know what happens, right? The happy part is fulfilling and exciting, and the part that is terrifying makes you want to order a cannoli.
Exactly.
It's oh my gosh.
Well, you asked about why we do what we do, right? So I'm in a similar field as my mom. You did the opposite. But as a bootstrap daughter, from the framework, had a mother. They were the parentified daughter. In other words, they had to take care of their mother.
Exactly.
So maybe they had an alcoholic mother, an immigrant mother, but somehow their mother couldn't be the mother, and a daughter had a lot of responsibility, right?
Exactly.
So what's interesting about your career, I looked at your studio, and you do, Jody, amazing,
Thank
beautiful
you.
work.
Oh.
But it is organized and clean and gorgeous. And sometimes we work out things in our career that we didn't have in childhood. And so, not to make any assumptions, but as a bootstrap who maybe didn't have, if you were the grown up, then you're continuing to organize people, right?
Yeah.
You're continuing to take care of your space because sometimes people's inner space feels chaotic.
And it's the only thing you have tangible enough to control. So if I, as a bootstrap Brenda, or boobstrap Brenda, if I'm that, and I am, it's the only thing I can physically, I can move the coffee table, I can choose the paint color and make my space.
Control.
But I don't always have this. That's where you come in.
Well, I think
so that's
women,
where I need you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, people think I'm insecure or I'm secure, right? That we think in black and white. And I think women coming through divorce and people in transition, a piece of their self-confidence has been stripped.
Oh, absolutely.
But it doesn't mean we're not self-confident in every area of our lives.
Exactly.
I mean, look at you, right? So that's tricky, that people could be secure and insecure at the same time, right?
It's so true.
So we have more than just our career. We have our bodies, we have our exercise, we have our strength. People are strong, and we don't always know how strong we are.
We're always a work in progress, and quite frankly, if we weren't, it would be damn boring. It would be so boring. I am so far from perfect, nor do I ever want to be. And I talk about when I do work with clients, and I'm trying to create a space that's nourishing and comforting through color, design, and laughter, because my gift is laughter.
Yes.
You know what? I call it acceptable flaws. I call it imperfect imperfection, and you're the same way. You don't have to be.
Nobody is.
Nobody's nor
perfect.
should you strive.
Right.
Because if you're striving for that, that's a really sad moment in your life.
Well, you've evolved, because a lot of bootstrap daughters, my quote for her is that she feels the weight of the world on her shoulders, right? She grew up having to be the parent. Bootstraps carry a lot.
It's so true.
In the workplace, I see these people as managers, as leaders, as women leaders. They're perfectionists, and they're driven, and they expect people below them to be as driven, and they really carry a lot of pressure. But through awareness and being vulnerable, bootstraps can let go of that and let other people take care of them a little bit, right? And,
so true, true. And that's why I think I'm going to keep reiterating how important it is to seek out somebody like you, or at the very least buy your book, because every woman out there listening, we all have these qualities, and all of you fall into, whether you're a butterfly or a copycat.
Well, we all have a mother.
We
right?
all,
we all
came out of somewhere.
That's right. So I think that's the problem.
We talked about this area in the green room, but I can't talk about it now. We'll talk at lunch after wine, but
yes,
we came out of that area.
And because of that intense relationship, being same gender, and the mother's
and growing 9 months,
but it's also the
all of
mother's
it.
hopes and dreams for herself, her unlived hopes and dreams. There's an expectation that there'll be the daughter's hopes and dreams. And so where that separation comes into play is really where women have trouble, right? A mother can give you a look and you crumble.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody else could give you a look and it's
and
like
you don't
no
care.
biggie, right?
It's so important. And you
sticky.
you may think it isn't. You may say, oh God, I don't get along, and it's okay, and they're so different. But you know what? Deep down, it's so intensely hurtful when it's not positive.
Yes.
It's so awful when you're being criticized.
Yes.
Some of these women are being criticized. It's also not good when the mother tells you everything you do is perfect.
No.
Because that's not reality.
It's not real. But also when you're criticized as a kid, you believe it's you.
Oh, you do.
You don't think it's your mom.
No.
And then you grow up and you're like, wait a minute. Maybe she didn't have it 100%.
Oh, she's blanked up.
But this isn't about blaming mom. I mean, I think
no.
moms, Jody,
I know that.
did the best they could with what they had, but they didn't always have good parenting themselves,
No.
right? So it's not about blaming mom. God knows we are moms and we can't blame ourselves for all our children's woes, right?
No, we absolutely can't.
But our moms did our best. But the point is that we are really trying to forgive what we could forgive and then take the best and then move forward. And we hope our moms are happy themselves, right? Because Because they're criticizing you as kids, and then we feel criticized, and then as adults we're like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Maybe that was about you, not me.
That's right.
And it usually is. It really is. And you do want them to be happy. And I think the trick, my God, I've been in and out of therapy for 30 years. And I think that's part of the reason I can be strong and inspiring, is because I'm aware of the differences, and I'm always learning. Like, that's why I loved your book. I learned even more. I read it, I learned it, I connected to you. Yeah. I'm so glad. Well, you and I connected on the phone for how many hours?
Yeah, a long
2
time.
hours,
A long time.
Never met each other. Came to my showroom, I don't know, God
beautiful.
long. You were there like 4 hours?
Yeah.
Now you're on the show.
Yeah,
now I feel like I want you to be my co-host. Now like you need to come on every week.
Well, you know what? Definitely people who are similar connect,
yes,
right?
Yes,
and,
we are similar.
And I think about women going into the workplace, and this stuff manifests not only in career choice and transition, but how women show up to work, right?
Yep.
Because if you're a bootstrap leader, if you're
everything's
a
perfect.
maverick daughter and you're still rebelling a little against mom, you may be the employee who shows up late to work.
Oh, yeah.
This shows up at work, and it's about work.
It is.
And it's about yourself.
It's so true. And work is hugely important. I mean, this is how we make a living. This is how we function. And especially, like I said in the beginning, when you've gone through any transition, all you have left is your career.
Right.
Damn it. You want to feel good about that career.
Right.
So you got to get smart.
Right. Well,
you got to get
women
smart.
in their 40s, 50s to get back into the workplace, especially if they have. I mean, it's hard enough for women who have their career and then they go through a transition. Yes, because I see these clients all the time.
We're now, oh my gosh, I'm 50 years old. I'm starting
what am
over.
I gonna do? Right.
Having said that, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to give you one of my WTF down and dirty design tips. So enjoy this break. I hope you learned something, and we will be back with Ilana momentarily. See you in a few. Everybody, Jody Topitz back again with my special guest, Ilana Levitt, who is, if you just turned in, author of What's Mom Still Got to Do With It. We're having a fascinating conversation how moms can impact your career positive and negatively, and both. It's not like it's one or the other. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit, it's like making a stew. You throw in there, you don't. You taste it, you're like, ew, too much salt. You know, you fix it. So she's the one that's going to take the salt out of your relationship, stew. Out of your stew, if it's possible. So, getting back to what we were talking about, and you know, you mentioned a few of the different characters in the book, which give a beautiful description of what you may or may not be. And what I liked, and I said in the beginning, I'm going to reiterate, is that I related to Bootstrap Brenda, but I also related to other characters in the book and took from it. And it was kind of very eye-opening for me. And I went, oh my gosh. You know what it helped me do? There have been times being I keep saying boobstrap. I'm so sorry. The Bootstrap Brenda. After reading your book, I felt forgiveness. Because it's like asking someone to speak French who's never taken a French class
Exactly.
and you're mad at them because they can't tell you where the bathroom is in French.
Exactly.
My God, if the person or your mom doesn't know and they did the best they can, you have to come from a place of forgiveness, but that takes some time
Yes,
and some therapy.
You know what? Forgiveness is important, but I also think that there's a few steps before forgiveness, which
What
is
do you
even
think?
awareness.
Oh, awareness.
Right? Because I think people are carrying this stuff. The ways in which I'm not like my mom,
Yeah.
I'm lesser. Or the ways in which I am like my mom, why can't I do it myself? Or my mom wanted me to be, a dancer because she couldn't be a dancer, and I'm letting her down by finding my own thing.
Right, and I don't even like dance.
I don't even like dance.
Right, but I'm doing it.
I enrolled in dance for 20 years as a kid, and now I have to find my own thing.
Yeah.
So this way in which we have to separate ourselves. So awareness of even what's yours and what's hers and what do you want versus what did she want.
It's like a bunch of scrambled eggs and
it's
trying to it's like
right.
being immersed. It's like being codependent.
Right. Well, and I think
in a way,
could be beautiful too. Right?
Exactly.
Because, when women say, "Oh, I'm best friends with my mother," that doesn't make sense to me because there has to be some separation. Otherwise, you're telling your best friend all your problems. Well, your mother then is just going to worry about you, right?
She's going to worry because she's going to have to worry.
And if she tells you all her problems, then there's that incredible worry about her. So we need to be our own people.
Yeah.
We could be incredibly close, but I think awareness of where the boundaries or dysfunction lies comes before forgiveness.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Where is it interfering?
Yeah.
We're not even aware that our moms, when I said I'm writing this book about a self-help career book for women about the mother-daughter relationship, a lot of people would look at me and say, mother-daughter and career, that's never been paired before.
Yeah.
And it's because we haven't had a lot of role models in the workplace. Being our generation, a lot of our mothers were not in the workplace. So I see women
This is very true.
who create their own glass ceiling, who don't have that confidence because they never saw it at home. Men have had generations and generations of men to come before us.
Yes.
And we're not even aware of exactly where our limitations might lie, where we unconsciously hold ourselves back. So yes, I think separation, awareness, forgiveness, and then moving on.
Acceptance.
Acceptance and then thriving in our own skin, not in the shadow.
No, you never want to be in the shadow. And I think that's what I think is very fascinating about this topic is I don't think I never once until I met you and read your book connected my career, my successes, my failures to my mother. Never. It didn't occur to me. I blamed it all on myself.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I didn't get this. It was my fault. Or I got this. I'm fabulous.
Right.
But
we're still not
blaming.
It's a piece.
It's a piece.
It's a huge
It's like
piece.
a wheel, and it's a cog that we should be aware of.
Or it's our story of where we grew up. What did we see our mothers doing? Were they deferential to men? Did they have the power in the family? Where have women come in the workplace? We're still not where we need to be.
No, we
still
get what 75 cents to every man's dollar.
That's right. So we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
And that's why women have to lift each other up and lift ourselves up.
It's really important.
We haven't had those role models. Women need to find a role model, find a mentor. Because if you didn't have a mom who was successful in the workplace, I saw it. So I saw
you lived it. You sat in her chair.
I said to my mom, I'm like, why didn't you ever tell me I should have a career where I could have work-life balance?
Yeah.
When I had kids. And she said, you saw me do it. I didn't have to tell you. I'm like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that I was watching her.
But you were taking it in. It just wasn't
taking it in a different way.
In a very different way.
Right.
In a very different way. And I think that's why this is a really interesting topic. It's not something you would think of normally. And my book, I don't hate to pat myself on the back, but I think I want to just drive home the fact that people don't understand that your space and where you live and the colors you choose dictate an instant mood. It makes you feel good, bad, depressed, calm, agitated. If you choose the right colors, if your space is set up in a way that flows for you,
right,
you will also be happier on the exterior. And then when you take care of this stuff, which is the interior, you start to become a complete person, right?
Yeah, the thing about your book that I have to tell you I loved, and I was just telling my friend on our bus ride into the city yesterday, because I showed her the book, and she said, oh my God, I have to read this, because she went through a very difficult divorce. And the chin hair comment, like just finding humor, Jody.
Oh my God, you gotta laugh at menopause.
But you talk about space and color, but you bring humor and light and empowerment through design. And again, working in a design school, I understand all of that about
Yeah.
space and color, but you are right on the mark about so many things that women go through that they're afraid to say and read, I just found myself, I mean, I think my book is a little more serious, but you bring out the humor in me, but your book, like, you really, it's empowering to see that you can laugh after the trauma, you can find happiness again. Like, we're not in the depths. We have the power to change our own space and our own lives.
That's right.
And I think that's what we share.
And we talk about, what I love about us is I talk about the external space and you talk about the internal space. And even the space of your body changing. To me, while I was going through my divorce, losing my house, creating this business, I was sprouting chin hair, my breasts were dropping to the floor. I told you what was dropping in the bathroom. I can't say on TV, but that's something new. I gotta fold those puppies up like a towel and put them back in the linen closet. But all right. But if I can't make fun of myself, how can I help somebody else? If I can't say, you know what, I am not perfect and things happen and I pee 5 times a night, I got to talk about it.
And even in the workplace, you know, I think being an HR person, I'm also aware of, like, don't go into your performance review saying you're great at everything. You have to accept, you know, where your limitations are, hire people who can do the things that you don't want to do. I'm not Miss Technology. I mean, I figure it out. But this is what I love.
But my strength is here. I love speaking engagements.
You know, people like, how about your next book? I'm like, there is no next book. There's going to be a workbook. But writing and being in my head, not my strength.
Well, that's what's funny. You are beautiful at talking to people. You're just a pleasure. We spent 2 hours on the phone without even meeting, 4 hours in my showroom, and now we're here. And the show will end in about 4 or 5 minutes, and we're still yapping.
I know.
And I feel like we've only been talking 5 minutes. Quite frankly, I would love to have you come back. I would love to have you come back because I feel like we just touched the surface of what you do and what I do, and there's such an overlap. And what a pleasure to meet somebody that found something I would have never ever thought about.
That's the other point. I found it out of my passion. Right? My husband said it was like a Quaker meeting, and this was my Quake. Right? I had something to say because there was no work that was more precious than the mother-daughter workshops that my mom and I did. I mean, it was powerful and intense and emotional and sad and happy. And we got so much attention, and then after she died, I was void of it. And I love the work I do in HR, and I love the counseling. But I really thought there's something to say that's me, and that's why it works. And I think you are also, your work is all about you, right? And that's my point in the book, that if we just, in reaction to society or our values or our mothers or our fathers, we don't become ourselves. And you and I do work that is so authentic. And I'm not saying everybody needs authentic work. Some people just want to go and work in a bank and they like numbers.
Fine.
And that's
fine. Good.
But for creative people, for designers, for therapists, our work is such an integral part of ourselves that when I see patterns in the workplace that aren't going well, you know, it's not going well, repeated patterns with women bosses, job hopping, not figuring out what you want, never moving to that next level. There's all these
There's
patterns.
Something there. It's not the job at that point. It's the person.
Well, we have to look at what we're bringing.
And it's hard for people to understand that. It's hard for them to know that could be a problem.
Well, that it could be something that they could change.
You can change. It's all changeable. Your space is changeable to make you feel happy and nourished. Your life in the workplace can be changed to make you feel happy and nourished.
It's not about what you did and the patterns. It's about what you do next.
No. There's no difference other than you're internal and I'm external.
Right.
That's
and
it.
The way the internal meets the external for me is how you then carry it through in the world. Right? You need to figure out what's inside and where you come from, and then you need to say it in a certain way.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Well, having said that, the show is ending in seconds. I want to thank you for being on.
So
it's my pleasure. Tell everybody that really fast.
Okay, you could get it on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and put in What's Mom Still Got to Do with it, and it'll show up. And thank you so much.
It was my absolute pleasure.
And here is your book,
which is also on Amazon.
It's also on Amazon, and thank you so much for having me.
It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you. Love you.
Love you.
Thank you, everybody. Jody Tope. It's we2me, where a house becomes a home. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you next week.